Hey guys, and welcome back to Stories with a Stoner. I'm the Stoner. So is Dolly. Dolly's here with a new outfit on for chapter 2 of our story, and our story is Sheep Ears by author Sherry Witt. If you missed out on chapter 1, then just go back and check out my playlist. I've got chapter 1 listed out, but here on this channel we go over an inspirational story, and this is a grouping of it's a collection of true impactful short stories by our author Sherry Witt, and we also work on costumes at the same time. So Dolly is wearing one of our costumes today. I'm gonna have Dolly, do you want to do a little turn? She's so fancy. She just tries to outdress me. She's also crooked. At least I'm not crooked today, Dolly. She's beautiful. So yeah. So I hope you enjoy this channel. If you do, then go ahead and click that subscribe button below. And if you like this episode of Stories with a Stoner, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That just helps me know that you guys are engaged, not to each other, but engaged in this series and you like what's going on. So let's go ahead and jump into chapter 2. I do like to put a disclaimer out there. While I read the book over a decade ago, I am rereading it, so it's kind of new and fresh in my mind. So you get to see my real reactions as I'm going through each chapter, kind of what I think or what I feel, what it brought into my mind as I read. So as I'm reading through the book with also the description or the link to the Amazon is down below, but you get to see kind of a real insightful response of what I think and kind of what the story meant to me for this chapter. So let's go ahead. Dolly's ready. Let's go ahead and get started, and we are on chapter 2. And it is entitled, Have You Ever Admitted You Were Wrong? Let's go. Is it hard for you to apologize? Don't worry, you're not alone. Most people find it difficult. I'm not sure why, but I suspect it is pride. It used to be pretty hard for me to apologize, but the more I do it, the easier it gets. I think admitting you're wrong falls into the same category as apologizing. Recently, my husband and I were sitting at the dinner table talking. I don't remember the topic of our conversation, but I jumped to a wrong conclusion. When I discovered that I was wrong, I said, I'm sorry, I was wrong and you were right. Randy, Mr. Randy, kind of mumbled, okay. Then I said, you know, that apology stuck in my throat, but I finally got it out. I had a big grin on my face, and we both laughed. Later that evening, he was wrong about something. So I said, well, what do you say? Randy has the cutest boyish grin when he's done something wrong. I really love that look. He finally said, I was wrong and you were right. We gave each other a hug and had another good laugh. I think some people are afraid to admit that they are wrong because others will think less of them. But the opposite is true. It is freeing to admit you were wrong. Hey, we all mess up. But did you know that if we haven't made things right in our relationships, God won't hear our prayers? It's like there's a thick ozone layer keeping our prayers earthbound so they can't get through. Don't believe me? I love this verse as translated by the Message. If you enter your place of worship and, about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you, abandon your offering, leave immediately, go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then, come back and work things out with God. Matthew 5:23-24. I've made several trips away from the altar myself. Satan will try to talk you out of it. At least he has with me. That old P word, pride, pops up every now and then. But just wash it down with a big piece of humble pie. Even if you feel that you are 99% right, what would it hurt to say you might be right? When I worked at a middle school, I had an issue with some 7th grade students. Dasmond and several other girls laughed and pointed at my flooded pants that were too short. Instead of ignoring them, I made a big deal about it and gave a long, tedious lecture on how I don't make fun of them and they shouldn't make fun of me. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that's all Dasmond and the other kids in class heard after my first sentence. I knew I should stop. I knew I sounded foolish. I was thinking, stop, Sherry, you just may need to shut up, but did I? No. The Apostle Paul said, I know I am rotten through and through, so far as my old sinful nature is concerned. No matter which way I turn, I can't make myself do right. I want to, but I can't. When I want to do good, I don't. And when I try to not do wrong, I do it anyway. Romans 7:18-19, LB. I guess if Paul could admit when he was wrong, then I can too. I saw Dasmond later that day, and I admitted that I was wrong to react the way I did. I decided to really humble myself and apologize to her and the other girls in front of class the next day. The whole 7th grade group graciously accepted my apology. Things got better between us since that day. I think they respected me more because I apologized. I bet that you too will be more respected when you are able to admit that you are wrong and apologize. And I guarantee your prayers will be unblocked. Like Joyce Meyer, the renowned television minister, once said, being right is highly overrated. Maybe you win your case, but at the cost of your relationship with your spouse, the respect of your students, or your customers at work. We are meant to be peacemakers. Start today. Find the friend who has a grudge against you. In Paul's words, make things right. You will find afterward that you walk a little more lightly, and that song comes back to you. Allow yourself to be free. All right, so at the end of every chapter, the author gives some questions. Some are meant to be answered by you, the reader, but me. And And sometimes they actually have also a biblical reference. That's the word I was looking for. They have a biblical reference back. So, whew, guys, I don't know if I'm ready for this one, but let's go ahead and jump in. We've got 7 questions today. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and let's see what happens. Number 1, if you are going to make things right, is it better to do it quickly or to wait for at least a year? There is a scriptural answer, a reference, but my first assumption is it's better to do it quickly because we're all not promised tomorrow. So if you think I may apologize tomorrow, sometimes tomorrow never comes. The reference. In light of all this, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out there and walk. Better yet, run on the road God called you to travel. And mark that you do this with humility and discipline, alert at noticing differences, and quick at mending fences. Ephesians 4:1-3. I got something right. Not exactly as the author explained, but again, mend those fences and do them quickly. Again, we're not promised our next breath, even whenever you look at tomorrow in reference. Okay, question number 2. Do you think it's harder to apologize to a stranger than a family member? Why or why not? Whew. I got an answer for this one. It's harder to apologize to somebody you know, or at least for me, it's harder to apologize to somebody that I know versus somebody that I don't know. Only because a stranger that I don't know, I'm probably never going to see them again. So it's easier to eat that humble pie to a stranger because you may not ever see them again. But to a family member, as long as you're alive, as long as they're alive, your family. And there's always holidays, barbecues, social gatherings, church. You always see that person. And so in the back of our mind, we're sitting there thinking, oh man, remember that time? Okay, let's go to question number 3. If someone admits they are wrong, should you ignore them or forgive them? And before I get into the scriptural reference, that word's gotten really hard to say. Don't ignore anyone, because as you know, it's hard to say I'm sorry or hard to admit you're wrong. It's just as hard for them to have said it, and we don't want to foster hurt feelings or ill will by ignoring them. I mean, we're all human. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be validated. So yeah, don't ignore them. So let's see what the scriptural reference is. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. Ephesians 4:32 NIV. All right, guys, we're a little over halfway there. Number 4. When someone has offended you but not apologized, is it okay to repay them with evil? I'm trying to decide if the hood me is going to answer this one, or the healed me is going to answer. So the hood me says, yeah, it's okay to repay them. I mean, they did me wrong, I'm going to do them wrong in some way. But that's not what we're taught. We are taught that evil begets evil. We're also told that, karma is always at play. And for those that don't know what karma is, it's just what goes around comes around logic. So if you give off evil, then you're going to get it back. Does karma exist? Maybe. But I also think that it's not necessarily karma being this big, ugly entity. It's missing out on your blessings. It's missing out on your purpose because you were being too stubborn, too strong-willed. There's probably a chapter in here about that. Okay, number 5. Stick with me, guys. Who lists the people with whom you need to make things right? I feel like I was just called out by my government name in junior high school over the PA announcement system. Paging Julia Hudson. Back then I was Jaggers, but called me out. Since I'm posting on the internet, I am not going to call other people out by their government name. But if you received something from me, then I needed to apologize. There's a scriptural reference to this one. Do not repay evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Romans 12:17 through 18 NIV. Okay, now let's jump forward back to number 6. Question number 6. Do you believe that a person who refuses to admit his mistakes will ever be successful? Meh. I want to say no. The hood me wants to say no. But if God needs to really get a miracle across, he may use any and everybody. At least that's how I feel. He may use any and everybody to get that done. So if getting that done makes that person successful, then maybe. The reference. Ooh. So the reference says, a man who refuses to admit his mistakes can never be successful. But if he confesses and forsakes them, he gets another chance. Proverbs 28:13 LB. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Because again, are we speaking to be successful at where the mistakes were made, or be successful in life in general? Again, because if God's purpose is to bless somebody else, but he's got to put the person that's going to help with the blessing in a certain place or a position, I think he might do that. All right, last question, guys. How does God want us to live our lives? And I'm just going to jump right into that scriptural reference. I think we've covered a lot. So he says, Turn from all known sin and spend your time in doing good. Try to live in peace with everyone. Psalms 34:14 LB. So, okay guys, we've made it to chapter 2. I think Dolly's still awake. She looks beautiful. I hope that you have enjoyed listening to this short story today. I hope that you've enjoyed my insight on my interpretation, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching this costume. I think I've gotten quite a bit further in this costume. Almost ready to start a new one, I think. I hope that you've enjoyed. Again, if you do, go ahead and click the like and subscribe button. I will list a link to this beautiful costume. It is still for sale. And I will also list a link out on Amazon for sheep ears. Just a sneak peek at next week's episode. Are you ready, Dolly? Have you ever asked God to pick a friend for you? That's a pretty interesting chapter for next week. I hope you guys have enjoyed. As always, stay safe, sparkle on, and be kind while you do it. Bye.